Hello and welcome to the science class. My name is Teacher John. I'm going to teach you science primary 5, term 2. In our previous lesson we looked at bacteria. Today we are going to look at fungi. What are fungi? Fungi are saprophytes. Fungi are saprophytes that absorb food from decaying matter. Fungi are saprophytes that absorb food from decaying matter. Fungi are saprophytes that absorb food from decaying matter. So the question is, what are saprophytes? What are saprophytes? What are saprophytes? Now, we said fungi are saprophytes that absorb food from decaying matter. Now, what are saprophytes? Saprophytes are living organisms that absorb food from decaying matter. Saprophytes are living organisms that absorb food from decaying matter. Saprophytes are living organisms that absorb food from decaying matter. Saprophytes are living organisms that absorb food from decaying matter. Now, why are fungi called saprophytes? 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 Fungi absorb food from decaying matter. Fungi absorb food from decaying matter. That's why they are called saprophytes. Look at examples of fungi. Examples of fungi. Examples of fungi. One, we have mushrooms. Number two, we have puffballs. Number 3, we have bracket fungi. Number 4, we have toadstools. Number 5, we have yeast. Number 6, we have molds. So these are examples of fungi: mushrooms, puffballs, bracket fungi, toadstools, yeast, and molds. Those are examples of fungi. So we look at the characteristics of fungi. Characteristics of fungi. Characteristics of fungi. 1, they don't have chlorophyll. They don't have chlorophyll. They don't have chlorophyll. Then another characteristic is that they feed saprophytically. They feed saprophytically. They feed saprophytically. They feed saprophytically. When we say they feed saprophytically, it simply means that they absorb food from decaying matter, or they feed saprophytically. So those are the 2 characteristics of fungi. After that, we look at we look at importance of fungi. Importance of fungi. Importance of fungi. How are fungi important to people? But before that, we can look at why are fungi not plants like mushrooms? Why are mushrooms not plants? Or why can't fungi make their own food? Why can fungi make their own food? It is because they do not have chlorophyll. They do not have chlorophyll. They do not have chlorophyll, that's why they cannot make their own food. The same question can be asked in a different way. Somebody may ask you, why can't mushrooms make their own food? Why can't mushrooms make their own food? Why can't mushrooms make their own food? The answer remains the same. Mushrooms do not have chlorophyll. Mushrooms do not have chlorophyll. That's why they can't make their own food. Mushrooms do not have chlorophyll. Mushrooms do not have chlorophyll. That's why they cannot make their own food. Then you look at the importance of fungi. How are fungi important people? How are fungi important people? How are fungi important to people? How are fungi important to people? Some fungi, like yeast, are used to bake bread. Some fungi, like yeast, are used to bake bread. Then some fungi, like mushrooms, are eaten as food. Some fungi, like mushrooms, are eaten as food. Some fungi, like mushrooms, are eaten as food. Number two, some fungi like yeast, some fungi like yeast are used for baking bread. Or cakes. Some fungi like yeast are used for baking bread or yeast. Then you can also say some fungi like yeast help in fermentation. Some fungi like yeast, are used. Some fungi like yeast are used in fermentation. Of alcohol. Number four, some fungi like molds are used to make medicine called penicillin. Some fungi like molds, are used in making penicillin. Some fungi like molds are used in making penicillin. So penicillin is medicine. which is used to treat fungal diseases. We said some fungi help in fermentation of alcohol, like yeast. Then we have some fungi help in decomposition. 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 Then number 6, especially when it comes to decomposition of organic matter to form soil. Then some fungi like yeast are used to flavor cheese. Some fungi help in flavoring cheese and so on. So that's how fungi are important. Some fungi like mushrooms are eaten as food. Some fungi like yeast are used in baking bread and cakes. Then some fungi like yeast are used in fermentation of alcohol. Some fungi like molds are used in making penicillin. Then some fungi help in decomposition of organic matter to form soil. Then there's something you need to note, and the fungi called penicillium mold. The fungi called penicillium mold. The fungi called penicillium molds are used in making medicine, called penicillin. Some fungi called penicillium molds are used in making medicine called penicillin. Then we have a diagram showing a mushroom. A diagram showing a mushroom. A diagram showing a mushroom. So we're going to look at parts of a mushroom. We're going to draw a mushroom and we label the parts. Parts of a mushroom. Parts of a mushroom. So those are parts of a mushroom. This one is called cape. This one is called gills. This one is called the ring. This one is called hypha. Then there is another one called stick. Yes, this part is called stick. It's like the stem. The cape has no ear at the end. Take note of that. That one is called. So we have the cape, the gills, stick, ring, and hypha. So those are parts that make up a mushroom. Then we look at the importance of each part. Importance of each part of a mushroom. Importance of each part. Importance of each part of a mushroom. Importance of each part of a mushroom. Importance of each part of a mushroom. One, we have the cape. The cape protects the gills. The cape protects the gills. The cape protects the gills. Let's add E in the word cape. The cape protects the gills. 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 Then we have a part called gills. Okay, now let's continue looking at parts of a mushroom. We said we have the first part is called cape. The cape protects the gills. Then the gills produce spores. The gills produce spores. The gills produce spores. Then the gills also store spores. The gills store spores. The gills produce spores. Then the gills store spores. So that's how gills are important. They produce spores, then they store spores. Then we have this part called hypha. The hypha absorbs food from decaying matter. Hypha absorbs food from decaying matter. It absorbs food matter. The hypha absorbs food from decaying matter. Then we have ring. Number 4, we have ring. Now, the ring, its major role is it protects the mushroom in bud stage. It protects the mushroom in bud stage. It protects the mushroom in bud stage. Then on 5, we have skip, also known as stalk. It holds the mushroom in an upright position. 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 So that's how each part is important to a mushroom. We said the gills produce and store spores. Hypha absorb food from decaying matter. Then the ring protects the mushroom, and the stick or stalk holds the mushroom in an upright position. The ring protects the mushroom in its bud stage when it is still young, the way the sepals protect the flower in the bud stage. So that's how the ring also protects the mushroom when it is still in its bud stage. So we look at reproduction in fungi. How do fungi reproduce? How do fungi reproduce? I say most fungi reproduce by means of spores, apart from most fungi reproduce by means of spores. Another question: how do the following fungi reproduce? 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 Alright, so this fungi here, we have mushrooms. You need to know how mushrooms reproduce. Number 2, we have bracket fungi. Number 3, we have puffballs. Number 4, we have toadstools. Number 5, we have molds. Then number 6, we have yeast. So, how do mushrooms reproduce? How do mushrooms reproduce? Mushrooms reproduce by means of spores, by means of spores. Mushrooms reproduce by means of spores. Bracket fungi also reproduce by means of spores. Bracket fungi by means of spores. Then we have puffballs. How do puffballs reproduce? Also, puffballs reproduce by means of spores. By means of spores. By means of spores. Then we have toadstools. Toadstools reproduce by means of spores. Toadstools reproduce by means of spores. How do molds reproduce? Molds reproduce by means of spores. By means of spores. Then lastly, yeast. Yeast reproduce by budding. Yeast reproduce by budding. By budding. Yeast reproduce by budding. So you find that of all the fungi, it is only yeast that reproduce by budding. The rest reproduce by means of spores. So we can say most fungi reproduce by means of spores, apart from yeast, which reproduce by means of budding. And B, most fungi reproduce by means of most fungi reproduce by means of spores, apart from yeast. Apart from yeast, which reproduce by budding. Which reproduce by budding. So that is how reproduction in fungi look like. So it's as simple as that. That is how fungi reproduce. So in our next lesson, we shall look at dangers of fungi. How are fungi harmful to human health? How are fungi harmful to people? Otherwise, thank you so much for being attentive in this lesson. May the Almighty God bless you abundantly and have a lovely day.